What's going on, guys? And welcome back to WWE Network and Show, where I, Graham G.S. Matthews, break down all the original content I watch on the WWE Network, as well as on the USA Network, because today we're talking Season 1, Episode 4 of Straight Up Steve Austin, with Stone Cold Steve Austin himself and his special guest, the Raw Women's Champion, the man, Becky Lynch. Obviously, this aired originally after Raw on Monday night on USA Network. I've really enjoyed the show so far. The first one with Rob Riggle was good. The second one with Sal Vulcano was fucking awesome. That might be my favorite so far, even over this one, and this one was great too. The Baker Mayfield one, very good. I'm not a big football guy, but I enjoyed that episode too, as I talked about last week here on the show. And if you're a wrestling fan, then you'll probably enjoy this episode as well. Not even probably, you absolutely should. If only for that last 10 seconds of the show, which I'll get to momentarily. But anyway, to kick off the show, we hear Becky Lynch talk about how she's a fan of the car that Stone Cold is driving. I guess they're in Los Angeles because that's where Stone Cold lives. I don't think Becky lives there, but he's driving his mother-in-law's car, which is kind of funny. And Becky Lynch talks about her fascination with LA and how her mom was a flight attendant, and then she was a flight attendant too with her mom at one point. And whenever she would go to shows in LA, she always felt more energized. Now, again, I don't know if she lives in LA still or if she just likes to visit there. I don't know. But then she talks about headlining WrestleMania 35 and how her parents were there, and people around her parents could tell that it was her parents because the mom couldn't stop looking away. She couldn't watch her daughter get beat up, and I guess that's just kind of the way that she is. Becky Lynch talks about this. I thought this was really interesting because Stone Cold says, "You got a great Twitter game. You're awesome on Twitter. How does that come about?" And Becky goes, "Oh, I obsess about it constantly. I obsess all the time about what I'll say on Twitter." So she's not the type of person, I'm sure it comes natural to her, but I'm sure another part of her is okay, what can I say to this person in response to this? She obsesses about it a lot, apparently, which is really funny. She also says that, she wants to stir the pot as much as possible. She even brings up how her mom is one of those people who, doesn't like the conflict aspect of wrestling. She would rather they cut, a nice promo and be, a goody two-shoes and be, a nice baby face. Becky Lynch does not like that. She is in the conflict business. She realizes that. She appreciates that. She will take full advantage of that, and she does that by stirring up the pot as much as possible by doing so on Twitter. She also talks the origin of the man character when she tweeted it out one time after SummerSlam last year, and then it kind of caught on fire. People brought signs to the arena, which felt good for her. She loved that. They then ride RVs in a park in some part of Los Angeles, which is really cool. And then they do some axe throwing, and they do make a bet where if Stone Cold loses, then he has to do 31 push-ups, or rather 30 push-ups. And then if Becky wins, or rather if Becky loses, she has to do the Irish jig that she used to do in NXT many years ago. While they're throwing the axes, Becky Lynch recalls lying about being a stunt woman at one point in her career because she put, wrestling and, mixed martial arts and shit like that on her resume. And a movie that she tried out for thought she was a stunt woman, so she was like, yeah, I'm a stunt woman, I can do stunts. So she did that for a while, I guess, which is kind of funny. Becky Lynch ends up winning the axe throwing contest. Stone Cold has to do 30 push-ups. He ended up doing 31. I thought that was kind of a lame, whatever, not dare, but consequence, because he could do 31 push-ups in his fucking sleep. I would rather see Stone Cold do the Irish jig than Becky Lynch personally, but we did not get that. Becky Lynch also admits, and I guess this might have been public knowledge, I have no idea, but she admits that she's a vegetarian. I did not know that. I was watching with Alexis. She's a vegetarian. She blew up when she heard that. She thought it was awesome. So they eat at a green truck, which has all vegetarian food, and then Stone Cold has some. He likes it. Doesn't really, exactly replace the taste of meat for him, but he still enjoys it nonetheless. Let's see. Going on the road. I'm trying to look at my notes here and see where I'm at. Becky Lynch talks about going on the road for her is kind of like a little venture, traveling from city to city, being with WWE, and she admits that she reveals that she travels with Seth Rollins, and by this point, it was public knowledge for a while that they had been together. And Cesaro, I did not know Cesaro was a part of their traveling group, but I guess he is, which is kind of funny. And Stone Cold asks about, traveling with them, traveling with her now fiance, at this point just her boyfriend. And Becky Lynch says, they pre-make their meals and they're very accommodating. And it's a perfect relationship because a lot of wrestling relationships don't work out because at least, years ago they did. Nowadays, they don't really seem to be as big of a problem as they were a long time ago when the company used to frown on stuff like that. But she goes, it's a great dynamic as Rollins loves to drive. She doesn't. They accommodate each other really well when it comes to food and eating at vegetarian-like places. They like a lot of the same things. And she even says it's like traveling with my best friend, which was kind of cute to hear, I guess. Anyway, off from the mushy stuff, she talks about how she hates being compared to other people, whether it be, Conor McGregor or Stone Cold Steve Austin. She wants to be the best version of herself, not be the second coming of Stone Cold or Conor or whoever. She wants to be the first Becky Lynch. And she goes, well, Becky Lynch, to me, because Stone Cold says, who is Becky Lynch? And she goes, well, Becky Lynch, I would say, is that part of you that always wants to come out. That part of you that always wants to, defy authority, go against the grain. That's who Becky Lynch is. And she gets to live that out every single day of her life because Stone Cold asks, how much of that is actually you? It's probably just her turned up to like a 12, But anyway, she did wrestling initially to get fit. That's really all that it was in the beginning. And then she took a break from it, and this is all well documented. She talked about it in her 24 many months ago. And then when she came back to wrestling, she made it her goal to headline WrestleMania, which obviously she ended up doing, an incredible goal, an impossible goal at one point, even up until, like a year or two ago, I would say. But she did it, and she won, which is amazing. Today, she's asked by Steve, what are your goals? And she says, or goals, other than wrestling. And she goes, I still want to do theater because she was an acting major at one point. She still wants to do theater. Television, movies, and stuff like that are cool, like the Marine and shit like that. But she wants to do theater, which is really cool to hear. They then go to a ring, and Stone Cold kind of teaches Becky how he used to walk to the ring. And he talks about his mannerisms and how he would go on every turnbuckle to show off to the crowd and flip off the crowd and kind of capture their attention. And then he goes, what do you do to capture the audience's attention when you come out to the ring? And she talks about how she used to walk to the ring, all happy-go-lucky, bouncing down to the ring and interact with the audience. Now she walks slowly up to the ring. She takes her time. She raises up the title, kind of showing off that she is the motherfucking man and that no one's going to mess with her. And she says, now I'm not as eager for everyone's approval. And that's really what kind of set me off and to do this new character that I've been doing now for about a year. I'm not eager for everyone's approval. And that's kind of part of her persona, where she's just kind of doing it for herself. And she goes, after Steve asks her, what does that Raw Women's Championship mean to you? And she says, this title is what we set off to do. This is what we work our entire lives for. And this is what I have in my hands, and I will not, take that for granted. So anyway, Stone Cold also asks her, what's harder, getting to the top or staying at the top? And obviously staying at the top is a lot harder than getting there, and she admits that as well. And she says that shot of her at the top of the crowd on the Raw before Survivor Series when Nia Jax busted her face last November will forever be a part of her legacy, at least one of the biggest parts, because that iconic image will never be forgotten by fans, I would say. And then to close out the episode, they drink beer, and then Becky Lynch out of nowhere hits a picture-perfect Stone Cold Stunner on Steve Austin. And he gives it the old Shane McMahon bump because they drink the beer and he spits out the beer when he takes the stunner. Becky executed it amazingly well, and he sold it perfectly. I thought that was an amazing ending. I never thought I would see Becky Lynch Stone Cold or give a stunner to Stone Cold, but hey, here we are. That's pretty fucking cool. So I thought that was a great way to close out a very entertaining episode, once again, of Straight Up Steve Austin. Check it out at your leisure on the USA Network. As for me, folks, if you like the review, be sure to give it a thumbs up, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more content. More videos on the way in days and weeks to come. Like I said, subscribe for all the content, whether it be new network and chills, Wrestle Rant videos. Got to get back to doing that. Haven't done one in a while. Just a lot of new network content coming out, so I got to get back to doing that very, very soon. Just been a very busy past month. But Wrestle Rant, hashtag AskGSM, miscellaneous videos, like quick clips from my trip to Chicago last week. Wrestle Rant radio excerpts, stuff like that. So subscribe today for all the content on a near daily basis. Until next time, guys, I'm Graham GSM Matthews. Have an awesome one, and I'll catch your ass down the road.